Evening, everybody. It's wonderful to be here. So appreciative of everyone taking time out of their busy schedules to join us. I would be remiss if I didn't introduce or provide an opportunity for members of the Montgomery College community to introduce themselves. I know I'm here with Dr. Brown and Cherry Jones and one of her roles. So I think before I start, and by the way, Jermaine Williams, new president of Montgomery College. It's nice to meet everybody. So glad you're here. I just would like to thank Dr. Brown and Cherry Jones for coordinating this event, this occurrence, this meeting, us having this place and space to spend time together. And before I share any more, I just want to say or turn it over to see if Dr. Brown or Cherry Jones, if you had anything to share with the group before I kind of provide a little some of my thoughts.
I will just add, Dr. Williams, my welcome to the students who have joined us here this evening. This is a wonderful opportunity for you all to meet the new president. So please don't be shy. You'll hear from Dr. Williams, but he also wants to have the opportunity to hear from you this evening. So we ask you to put your questions in the chat or raise your hand and take this opportunity to share your thoughts about Montgomery College, your experience thus far, and any ideas and any things that you would like to share with Dr. Williams on this evening. Ms. Jones.
Hey everyone, I'm Kimberly Jones. I'm the Director of Student Life on the TPSS campus and the College Council Chair. I too want to encourage you all to ask any questions. I know there's no shy folks on this bunch because I see Andre's name, Malou. So I know you're going to have some questions for Dr. Williams. And so we are here to just answer some of those questions and just get to know, or have you all get to know Dr. Williams a little bit more too. So we're excited to get this started.
So awesome. Thank you both so very much. And again, I'm just thankful to be in this place and space with everyone. It's this Tuesday. I believe it's Tuesday of my 4th week, and I'm just so overjoyed and humbled to be here as the new president and be part of the MC community. And you know, listening to students is so essential because you're the reasons why we're here, right? We endeavor to be able to help you identify and then accomplish your goals, both your academic goals and your social goals. And part of my transition to the Montgomery College community is learning about the student experience. And I've been listening to students, faculty, and staff, and this is an opportunity for me to hear from you. I can definitely share a little bit about myself. I've been in higher education for about 20 years, and I've really dedicated my professional career to looking at how we support our students, right? How we use education as an opportunity to address social issues that we see, you know, with a focus on student access and completion and the ever so crucial post-completion success. And when I say that, I mean, what happens after you leave Montgomery College, whether it's transfer or whether it's directly into the workforce or both, right? It could be both. And how are we, how is your Montgomery College experience preparing you for that next stage? And I can get more into my philosophical approach in terms of you know, social justice and racial equity and being data informed and student centered, but I don't want to get too heavy too quickly into the conversation. So maybe I will stop there and see if we have any questions from students or any comments.
Not yet. They're warming up. We know
Okay.
they're warming up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, I'll throw out some questions that I've asked other students, other groups of faculty and staff is kind of, what do you love the most about Montgomery College? What do you love the most, or what has impacted you the most about Montgomery College? There's a question, and here's another question. I'm new to Montgomery County and Montgomery College, and I've arrived with a partner who's my partner in life, my spouse Maggie, and our two boys. We have a 9-year-old and a 4-year-old. So the second question. Do you have any suggestions for either family friendly or adult friendly activities that we could engage in? And so there's 2 questions to kind of get the ball rolling.
So how are
there's a
you
question in the
enjoying
chat.
Montgomery County so far, Dr.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Dr. Brown. So I'm loving it. Montgomery County is great. I'm visiting different parts of the county. I've been to all of our campuses. I've been to one of our workforce development and continuing education centers. I've been advocating for us down at the county executive's office and in other political arenas. So I've definitely been all around, and I have to say that it's been such a warm welcome, and all the individuals who I've run into have been embracing me and my newness, and they're patient with me and all my questions. I'm a big question asker. It's it's my sense making. It's how I learn about our community and our potential opportunities and challenges. But I'm loving the transition. I've been to some adventure parks so far, which is great. That was a suggestion, and I've been excited about that. I've hung out down at in Rio. I've been down to Bethesda, of course, our campus down at Tacoma Park at Silver Spring. So I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Excellent. All right. So Eric says he absolutely enjoys being part of student life. I've mostly been part of the theatrical realm. All right, Eric. The theater advisors have also let me try other aspects of theater outside of acting. For example, stage manager and being part of the tech team. So Eric is sharing what he has enjoyed here at Montgomery College.
That's awesome, Eric. Thank you for sharing. It's I can't wait to kind of get down and go behind the scenes. It's really fascinating that you're getting this wealth of experience from learning how to, I'm guessing like you're even learning how to make sets, and from that to being an actor. That's just a kind of a wealth of experience to give you kind of a full comprehensive background of the theatrical realm. It's great that you're able to get that experience. What do you? I'm interested in. You can chat or what do you want to do? I mean, is it stage manager? Do you want to be in the theatrical realm? Is it something more of a passion? You think it's a profession? I'm just curious. Just curious if you want to share. So. I see Aisha has a question.
Yes. Aisha wants to know what motivated you to venture into activism within education.
Wow. So I'm a first generation college student, born to a Southern Black man and a white Northern mother, neither of whom had a college education. Neither of whom had a college of education. My mother did fine in high school. She decided not to pursue college. My father was actually passed through. Not sure if that term resonates. He essentially was socially promoted through high school to the point where I helped my father learn how to read when I was in middle school. He came north during the Great Migration, And I really learned kind of firsthand how education impacts lives, and how your level of education can impact your life. Just by seeing what my father went through, given his experience. And so that was, it didn't really resonate with me until much later in life, in terms of the impact of education. I was a middle schooler when I was helping him through this literacy process. But it deeply impacted me, and has resonated for a very long time, and has led me to, it's interesting. I really appreciate the that activism word. I've never actually, I don't think I've ever actually operationalized my action within education as activism. And that's something that you've got me thinking deeply deeply about, as to maybe why I never actually categorized it and kind of named it in that way. It was just always something I did. And yeah, so I appreciate that. And I'll share another story really quickly. When I received my first master's, I went to work at a nonprofit organization in Center City, Philadelphia. My first master's in sociology, and I really wanted to apply at a kind of concentration in just socioeconomic status, like race and ethnicity, social disparities. And I went to work for an organization that the mission was to help individuals transition from government assistance to self-sufficiency. And what I realized in the short time that I was working there, and I was working with individuals who were on public assistance, is that 99% of the individuals who I was working with were people of color, Black and brown people. They were women, and they did not have a college education. A lot did not have a high school education. And so I knew that I had to dedicate, if I wanted to make the type of impact or contribute the way that I wanted to contribute to society, that I knew I had to start earlier, which meant getting back into higher education and really focus on educational access, completion, and post-completion success in an equity-minded way. So those are two really life-altering experiences for me. I really appreciate that question, Aisha. I'll stop there because I'm getting a little in my feelings about reflecting on my past. So I'll stop right there, but thank you for that question.
So I'm going to share Eric's response to your question, Dr. Williams, and then Ms. Jones, I'm going to ask you to read Melanie's question, if you will, please. Eric said theater is a passion that could very well become a profession. He's not quite sure what position, however. But that's why he's here, to explore his options. And I think Maurice is saying you're keeping it 100%. He's in agreement with what's been said. Okay, Ms. Jones.
All right, perfect. And so ironically, this is what Dr. Williams, after Dr. Williams shares that he's first generation, Melanie also shared the same thing. Diversity is my favorite thing at MC. It makes you feel at home. I've learned tons of things from networking with others of different backgrounds. As a first generation Hispanic college student, I have found a tight knit of other first gen Hispanic students through the Southern Management Leadership Program, and I'm incredibly grateful for that.
Yeah, yeah. So I was going to say that I've heard great, just great experiences from about the program. I've met a few students who are also in that program, and again, as a first generation college student, I feel you. My parents didn't know; they were just happy I went to college. I could have left college the first semester, and they would have just been like, "Oh, that's my boy Jermaine. You know, he went to college for a semester." Like they just would have been. They would have been happy that I went. It was it was really my brother. I had an older brother who, influenced me a lot in terms of helping me get through college. And that's one of the things that I learned, speaking to your point that you just made, is finding that close knit, finding those individuals who can help us. And for you, I'm so glad that you found individuals. For me, one of those individuals was my brother. I appreciate you sharing your story. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you found points of connectivity.
Okay, so Rebecca wishes everyone a good evening, and she's a new first semester student majoring in business at the Rockville campus, and she's really excited to have the opportunity to speak with you tonight, Dr. Williams. So welcome, Rebecca.
Hello, Rebecca. Very nice to have you here. Thank you for joining.
So the next
All right.
person in the chat. Oh,
Yes,
sorry.
go on with Andre. No, go right ahead.
The next person is Andre. I knew Andre had a question.
Yes.
Andre is one of our student senators on the Rockville campus. So Andre said, I found MC to be a great community of individuals once I joined governance and the Achieving the Promise Academy. With your background in social justice within the educational system, do you have any plans to help improve MC's ongoing goals in equity?
So Andre, thank you very much for that question. And I think it's fantastic. I'm going to key in on a few parts of that. And I love the ongoing goals, right? And that's one of the components that drew me to MC is the dedication to social justice, the dedication to racial equity, the dedication to being an anti-racist institution, and already laid such a framework, and I've started a path towards not just talking about, not just philosophically, kind of batting around the idea, but action plans that have come from the board through the entire through the community. So what I would say is yes. We'll add that kind of period, and then yes is the short answer is I want to be here to, and I am here to find out what we have done thus far, and that's a big part of my learning journey, is finding out what advances we have made, and then what's our current trajectory, and how can I contribute to that, and then I have experiences as we all do in terms of what questions are we asking, and one of the questions that I always ask, and this is in general, and there's no I'm not implying that we don't already ask this question at Montgomery College. I'm still learning what questions we do and don't ask, and what places and spaces we navigate is, and within is what what's benefiting who and how, right? When we think about policies, when we think about processes, is what the context in which it was created or they were created, what was the intention, what the actual outcome is, and then what we're looking to do to move forward with it, all wrapped around the the framework of equity and being data informed. So Andre, really very much appreciate that question, and I am an equity avenger, and that's I will stay true to that. So
excellent. All right, I'll share the next one from Maurice Williams. Maurice is involved in the community, and the Presidential Scholars Program, he says, has been great. He's gotten so much support from the program.
That's awesome. That's all. Then we might need to do a little 23andMe or something, Maurice, because we got that same last name. It's I don't know. I don't know where Williams fits on the list right now, but when I was growing up, it was like one of the top 5 kind of last names, and but it's I'm so glad that you're here, and thank you for sharing your experience.
All right, the next question is from Rebecca. I have a question for you, President Williams. Since you're new to MC, where do you see yourself in the present and future of the college? Great question, Rebecca.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah, I know, right? The present and the future. So the present would be this is obviously part of the present, and I will, I'm kind of oversimplifying it, but to, expound a little bit, is the present for me and my role at Montgomery College is learning. That is, I'm embracing everything I can. I want to learn about our successes and how we build upon those. I want to learn about our opportunities, how we create new successes, just things that we haven't even thought about. I want to be able to have us communicate in places and spaces where we share bold ideas, right? And everything is on the table for what can be, and the possibilities, again, that we just, are maybe now kind of unimaginable, because I think we've been through some unimaginable situations in the past 2 years, right? So how do we, create or continue to foster these comfortable spaces that are engaging, where we can be intellectually curious, right? And foster these dynamic conversations that catapult us into the future. So for me, it starts with learning, and that's part of why I'm here. And then in the future, it is, learning and then identifying, through what I'm learning and reflecting that back, is how do we, kind of, I don't want to say enumerate, but how do we identify our major goals that we can all coalesce around, goals that see us all contributing members of our educational ecosystem here at Montgomery College and within the county. And then how do we advance those goals? And I will add at least one more component to that. I'm a big fan, and you heard me say this before, of being data informed. I like to ask and to challenge myself and others in terms of how do we know things are working? How do we assess? And I like to kind of talk about things in terms of prototyping, right? This almost fast-paced at times ability to be able to implement something and then identify if it's meeting our outcomes and quickly pivot if it's not, right? So we don't need to wait a year or 2 years or 3 years to maybe see if something is working in the way in which we have intended it to work. Sometimes that's too long. So I want for the future, I want to have conversations about how we're in this environment where we're comfortable enough to say, wow, after a certain amount of time, I think based off of what we've learned, we could tweak this because that will maybe get us to where we were intending to be. And that is a place and space that takes courage. It takes compassion. It takes us being vulnerable, because new and change is challenging and difficult, and leads to a level of vulnerability. But that's where I would like to see us so dynamic, that we're able to move forward through literally anything, obviously with the goal of student success as our our focal point. So
excellent. Thank you, Dr. Williams. Melanie has given a list of recommendations for you and your family to visit. I have copied the information and will send it to you by email, but we'll mention a few. Rio in Gaithersburg has restaurants and a great walking trail around the lake, as well as a playground area. So she thought about everyone in the family. There's an adventure park in Germantown, other parks and picnic areas. And then she even gave you some date night recommendations. So I will send them. And of course, the free museums in Washington, D.C. So I'll send you the list of recommendations from Melanie.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Brown. Thank you, Melanie. I will say, I've had the opportunity, even though we've only been here for a short period of time, so you can kind of connect the dots on this, on several occasions to visit the sweet shop in Rio that has the lovely cupcakes and cake pops, and the smell of sugar is just there as you walk by. I'm forgetting the name. I believe it starts with an M. but you probably know what I'm referencing. And that's definitely on our list of favorite things to do at this point in time. So it's a thank you very much.
All right. So Andre said, thank you. Maurice said, thank you. And Rebecca has another question. What is something that inspires you, or who is someone that inspires you to be your best self in working towards your goals and dreams?
Wow. My father is one of my heroes. I have a few, and as I shared, and I shared a very personal story a few minutes ago. So the end of that story is that my father graduated several times over before he left us. He's been gone for several years. But not only did he receive his undergraduate degree, but he received a few post-baccalaureate degrees. Long after my brother and I had gone to college. But that was just, he is definitely one of my heroes for that. And for philosophically, he would always share that you can learn from everybody. I don't, he's like, he would say, son, I don't care, who you're in the room with, or how much you think you've learned, or, what you think you're doing. You can learn something from everyone and anyone can teach you something. And he said, if there ever comes a day where you think that's not the case, then you need to check yourself. Because that's just not the philosophical approach that I'd like you to have. And I live by that, and I engage every experience as a learning and growth opportunity for me. So he's definitely one of my heroes and someone who inspires me on a daily basis.
Excellent, and thank you, Dr. Williams, for being vulnerable and modeling that for our students who are gathered here this evening. Melanie again, I tell you, Melanie, I'm going to contact you for some recommendations myself. But Melody, she said Lily McGillies. Is that
that's the sweet shop? Yes,
that's the
okay. Thank you, Melanie. You got it. Yes. That is, and if you haven't been, oh my.
All right, so we are encouraging students to post other questions, and if you'd like to raise your hand, please do, and we'll call on you. And we have staff here as well. There are staff in attendance this evening, and so I want to recognize those who have gathered here in support of our students this evening. So here's a question, Dr. Williams. What are your thoughts about the mandate at Montgomery College, the mask mandate at Montgomery College?
Yes. We were having conversations about this actually earlier today. And so the short answer is it's extremely complex. Montgomery College has so many facets, right? We have the 3 campuses, we have centers, we have a shuttle, we have an education center, at Germantown campus. There's, we have classrooms, office space, advising, learning centers, libraries. So it's not, when we think about the complexity of it, it's, and I share that because when we hear business and kind of industry, come out with different policies, it's like, oh, well, the gym policy is this. And it's kind of like, all right, you have a gym, or the restaurant policy is this, like, okay, you have a restaurant, or the theater policy is this, like, oh, okay, you have a theater, like, we have a gym, a theater, a restaurant, classrooms, like we have all these things to consider. So the level of complexity is quite high. What I can say is that we are looking, as we have been, to keep health and safety paramount. And we do want to create policies and expectations that are aligned with the current health conditions. So we're having conversations at the college as health conditions have changed, and we definitely will keep our students and the entire community informed as soon as we've been able to kind of have those conversations and make a full decision. One of the things I will share, just kind of in closing to this question, is a few other complexities that that I didn't mention, and I think, you know, complexities add to the beauty of our community, and they help to ensure process, and they help to ensure inclusion and compassion and empathy. You know, we have a robust, you know, governance system and process. So we have a robust inclusion mechanism. I'll kind of oversimplify it and say it's an inclusion mechanism wherein by we're able to ensure that there's participation in large scale conversations like mask mandates. And we also have labor bodies that we want to include as we proceed. So we want to have those conversations with the important entities at the college. And so what I can share as well is that we are having those conversations. We do realize that the county has relaxed the mask mandate. We do realize that MCPS has relaxed the mask mandate. Please know that we are in deep conversation about that within the college community, and we will definitely keep the students posted. And please know that your voice is heard within college governance. We do have constituents that speak for the voice of the students. So that's one of the beautiful things of the complexity of our, you know, Montgomery College. So we are having these conversations, rest assured. I appreciate the question.
And I think it's safe to say that we welcome diversity of thoughts and ideas. As Dr. Williams has expressed, we see the conversation taking place in the chat and appreciate, and I want to make sure I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I think it's, if this is the correct pronunciation, Liette and Eric, we do appreciate your thoughts on this topic and invite you to please connect with the student council or members of the student senate to have your voices heard. So thank you so very much. All right. Let's see.
All right, Rebecca got some really great questions. Okay, Rebecca, I need to invite you to a few more programs. As I've heard, MC is designated as an anti-racist place of higher education. Equity, diversion, and inclusion. I think she meant to say diversity and inclusion is a very important topic to me as a first-generation immigrant and member of the LGBT community. What initiatives and programs do you have in mind to ensure that every student, faculty, and staff member feels welcome at the college? Thank you, Rebecca.
Yeah, thank you. I second that. Thank you very much, Rebecca. I do think it is building it, as I shared, off of the framework. And I know that, you know, right now, from whether it is discussing, you know, books throughout, and I know we had a conversation just earlier today about one of the books that is being discussed throughout the college in terms of recognizing, and I think I'll start with, it's a kind of a good segue that I initially was starting with, but it leads me to the kind of the subcomponent of that start, which is identifying where we are. And I think the college is really on a fantastic path of identifying where we are. I think we need to name it. I think we need to, you know, really figure out what is occurring and why it's occurring. I think we need to own that in a way, again, that is compassionate and empathic, but in a way that is truthful, right? I think we need to, you know, be truth tellers in regard to, you know, the reasons why we have certain equity gaps is because of policies and procedures that are put in place. Policies and procedures that were put in place, you know, that help to kind of, in some unfortunate instances, help to ensure the status quo. And I think as we look at the status quo and what that is and how that's caused equity gaps, then we start to identify. So we've identified, we've named it, we've looked at what has transpired based on what has occurred. And then we start trying to figure out, so what do we do differently? And I say start trying to figure out, I know this work is already occurring at Montgomery College. I've been in these conversations. But for me, those are kind of three salient steps. In order to move forward, we have to know what's happening and we have to know the outcome. And I think we have to be comfortable enough to embrace it and be able to talk about it, right? Again, in a way that is vulnerable, in a way that we are owning it, right? Not necessarily that we created it, but a way that we acknowledge it and that we're owning it and that we're all in some way participants. And I'll give you a prime example. As I said, I identify as a person of color, and I can get deeper into exactly how I identify at a later period of time. I also have privilege. I'm a male. I have certain privileges that come with being a male. Certain privileges that come with being a male based on the fact that a lot of our policies and laws and things that govern us were created by males. And they were created without the voice of females or with a subtle voice of females. And I am afforded certain privileges, even as a person of color, but as a male. So I think we look at these intersectionalities that we have, and that helps us move forward. But we need to, I would posit, we need to be able to embrace that with, care and concern, compassion, empathy, knowing that we're all impacted differently. And I've seen that at Montgomery College, and I want to be able to help foster that and encourage that and identify these, these spaces where, and I say spaces and places. It's funny, there's a lot of literature about communication, and there used to be a term called non-spaces. It was either non-spaces or non-places. And they were these areas where you were, as a human being, en route to an actual place. So a non-place would be like an airport, a car, a form of transportation on your way from like a house to an office, like these places. So you kind of have this dynamic kind of form of communication. That's why I say places and spaces, if you're ever wondering, because some literature kind of deems places as non-places, and maybe they're just spaces. But I think throughout our lives and our journeys, we need to be able to have these conversations and be vulnerable with each other. So I'm hoping to uplift, to amplify the good work, and identify, with the help of others, next steps and how we go deeper and how we elevate.
Excellent. So Dr. Williams, Malu, I hope that's correct, is a student senator at the Tacoma Park Silver Spring campus. The question is, do you have any plans about working with the student senates? If so, what are your plans?
Yes, and I drink tea, and I'm a big, so I don't know if people can see that. It's one of my tea coffee mugs. So give me a minute. I've been talking a lot. I'm a little parched. Thank you for your patience. Yes, I am. So this is one of the components that I'm learning about, and this is actually one of my questions, and I could share this question kind of back, my reflection. I've asked a few students, and I'm interested in the connectivity of the student senates. So while I've worked in multiple campus institutions of higher education, I've noticed that there's certain times where we have kind of distinct groups at the campuses, whether it be like a student senate or a student newspaper. So part of my learning journey is I'm trying to figure out how these bodies interact with each other and then interact with administration and faculty and staff. And I know part of that, the beauty, again, I know part of that is through college council and through governance. And I'm trying to figure out if there's also additional interplay that I'm not aware of. And maybe college council is the sole vehicle, but that's actually on my list of questions to answer or questions to pose and have responded to. So if people have responses for that, again, I know our governance system is a great vehicle for that. I also didn't know if there were other vehicles or, again, other interplay with student governance in different campuses. So so that's a question that I have.
And Dr. Williams, we certainly look forward to having you meet with the student senates. I will say there is a connection where The representative, typically the president of the student senate, is on the student council. And that was very deliberate. We did that a few years ago. So there is that connection. But we look forward to having you meet with the student senators. There will be opportunities, and I'm sure they'll reach out through the student life directors for the opportunity to speak with you.
So that's great. I look forward to it. If I can reflect back, Dr. Brown, what you said, just because if it maybe it's new to some of our students, and I'm embracing the newness of, so student senators from each campus are on the student constituent group, is what I'm hearing, which is one of the 12 groups that create college council. And there's college council, the 13th group. So if the students are there, I'm repeating that because I think it is a fantastic illustration of how we are inclusive at Montgomery College. And as I learn and embrace things that I don't know, I also think it's an opportunity to kind of share that back. So as a student, I'm proud as president to hear that infrastructure is set up. So I just want to make sure that that's clearly articulated to our students, that the voice of you have a student representative at each campus that is on this student constituent council, which I think is fantastic. So yeah,
yes.
Thank you.
And I serve as the liaison to the group. So Dr. Williams, they always reach out to the president to come meet with the student council, and that will certainly be an opportunity as well moving forward.
That's great. That's great.
Something else also to add is that the 3 student senates do work together. So for the past 2 or 3 years, they've held an annual town hall that's been virtual. So that's been really wonderful. So the first year we did it around COVID. And then the second year was the return to campus plan. So far the last 2 years, they've worked together to kind of do that. And then we also do a summer and winter retreat for all 3 of the student senates as well.
That's great. I hope I'm invited.
I'll put it on the list. So Andre has the next question. As a community college, MC has become more involved with the business community with the new Macklin Business Institute. Being that your network is your network, a lesson I have learned from our great administrators, might there be any plans to connect the other majors at MC? And great minds think alike. T does wonders.
Thank you. Yes, I'm big fan. So in terms, I might ask a clarifying question in terms of the connectivity, connecting other majors specifically to Macklin, or creating a kind of Macklin Business Institute experience for other majors that are applicable. I want to make sure I understand the question. So Andre, if you could, any clarity that you could provide on that, I just want to make sure I'm appropriately responding.
I believe there's a way for us to actually hear the question. Arkar, if I'm right on that we can actually hear Andre speak.
That's correct.
Yes,
I can enable to speak.
Okay, if you can do that, I don't think Andre minds asking his question. Andre, do you mind?
Hello?
There you go. Do you mind answering the question?
Hi, Dr. Williams. Yes, basically what I meant is it is a great opportunity that the business majors at MC get the Macklin Center, because they're connected to various businesses within the MC community, within the Montgomery County community, as well as abroad outside of that MC community. I was wondering, like, for other majors, like the theater arts or architecture or writing, whatever other majors students have, would there be anything down a pipeline for those majors as well too, that can be just as involved as MBI? Yeah.
Thank you for that. And I will, I would say send ideas, and absolutely yes. I think, kind of our idea generation and our conversations are limitless. I think that's, why we have these conversations, is to find out. And this is a perfect example, Andre, I really appreciate, because I'm hearing, right now, we are hearing the voice of the students. And what we're hearing is that MBI is great, it's fantastic. And what other, kind of road could that take? So to speak in terms of supporting other majors. So I think that's a point of conversation. And I heard you say theater majors.
Yes, I was just throwing it out there, just random majors. I'm an architecture and interior design major myself. And honestly, I've had a great time at MC. I've made a lot of connections, even in my first semester here. The career, the career facilities with at MC. Like I got my first semester back, I got an internship through them. And I was shocked because I didn't really believe I was worthy at all. So, but like MC has done a great deal of good for me. And I was very surprised being that is like a community type college. I didn't receive that from my past university, which was, on campus and stuff. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I think, and I will find out a way. I'm looking at Dr. Brown, I'm looking at Dr. Rye, and I will find out kind of the most effective, efficient, and appropriate way to pursue that. Because I think I really appreciate the statement. And I don't know if we take that back to the constituency group, the student group. I don't know if we kind of take that back to maybe our chairs, but I think we can find a way to really find out more about what this could potentially be, what majors might be kind of more opportune, as far as, pursuing that type of MBI experience and what that may mean. I want to say, based on what we have and are growing with like cybersecurity and biotech, I would like to, I know we have such deep connections in the community, both the business community and kind of the nonprofit community, that it may be a matter of, pulling pieces together and maybe creating a physical space, or even, cybersecurity, maybe it's a virtual space, right? When we think about the MBI in terms of that physical space, perhaps depending on, what the major is, it doesn't have to be a physical space. But I'm looking at, again, I'll follow up with Dr. Brown and Dr. Rye and see how we can kind of flesh this out. And we use MBI as a model to support other majors. I really thank you, Andre, very much. Thank you.
And I think Andre was talking about student employment services, where perhaps he was able to get the internship or one of our other internship opportunities, maybe even through MBI. And I know Trustee Wellick was talking about MBI last night and how very appreciative he has been of the experience. And so here we have it, another testimony of how great a program it is and how students benefit. Eric wants to share that he is the Vice President of Black Box Players. And besides stage management, this is one of his first leadership roles, and it's a neat experience. He also goes to the Student Life office from time to time. And let's see, yeah, he just wanted you to know that he's also a leader in his own right.
Absolutely, we are all leaders. I know I didn't say that yet tonight, but absolutely, I'm a firm believer of, I'm not the first person, I'm the last person to say it either, but I do believe that is, we are all leaders. And I think it's great when we find different ways to lead regarding our, regardless of our quote unquote roles and positions. So I'm excited to hear that. Thank you for sharing.
All right, Aisha, as editor-in-chief of The Globe, which is the Germantown campus newspaper, is there a chance that you have an interest speaking with us or any of the other campus newspapers for future articles and interviews? And I believe you already have one interview scheduled, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I do. I have at least one with the Excalibur, and then there's a podcast that is, the name is escaping me at this moment in time, 6:48. But yeah, there are two lined up so far. So the short answer is yes, we can definitely connect you with the appropriate people so that we can get everything scheduled. But absolutely, I'd love to talk and share and hear more.
All right. We have Liat, who is sharing that MC gives unparalleled opportunities and internships to its students. So opportunity for you to hear some of the experiences and opportunities that our students have had, Dr. Williams.
Thank you, Liat.
All right, Rebecca here for the win. Yes, Rebecca. All right, what are your plans to increase student participation and interest in clubs and activities around the 3 campuses? I'm an officer of a club on the Rockville campus, Creative Writing Club, and we're struggling to get students excited and engaged about the club. Do you mind if I answer just part of this?
Not at all, not at all.
So Rebecca, one thing that I've experienced in student life this semester, and this is across the board, we don't have everyone on campus. So with 60% of students on each of the campuses, it has been a struggle to get students engaged, whether it's in person or virtual. I will say, like, our in-person programs, if they're not front and center in the ST atrium, we're not getting people there. But then on the flip side, people are over Zoom. So we have this weird kind of moment where we're not getting as much engagement as we're used to. So I do think, and this is just me being positive, I do think that when we come back together in the fall semester, this won't be an issue at all. I think you're going to find that you're going to find that the opposite problem, like way more students are engaged in your club than you really anticipated. So I'll just say that little piece from a student life standpoint, that I do think it'll improve over time. And then the other piece too is, I would say, reach out to your constituents on all 3 campuses to find out what kinds of recruitment ideas that they have and they're implementing on their campuses, because you might find a new idea of some sort. So that's just my little cue. And then I'll pass it back to Dr. Williams.
No, thank you so much. Yeah, we're totally aligned, and I'm interested to see, how the resets, right? After things change, and things are constantly changing. The only thing, other piece I would add to that, which I don't know if it's an addition, maybe a little bit of a compliment. I don't think it's a full-blown new idea. Is I listen to you. That's the what I plan to do is listen to you. It's interesting. I gave a presentation, like, I don't know how many years ago, and it was about it was essentially about people who are like in their like 50s and 60s, who are have team members who are in their 30s and 40s, who are looking at individuals to implement programs for students who are in their their teens, their 20s and 30s. And we know at Montgomery College we're very diverse, right? So that age can span. Where I'm getting at is, none of us are students. So even if we are the same age as students, we're not students. Let me clarify that. We're not students at Montgomery College experiencing what you're experiencing. A lot of us are pursuing other professional situations, and we're students in our professional arena. But you're living and breathing in Montgomery College in a way that we're not, regardless of your age, okay? And regardless of whether or not that's the reality of it. And I think kind of reinforcing the comments you just heard from Chair Jones is that, we want to hear from you, and, see what ideas you have, so that we can then, implement those, and at least talk through those, right? So that's all I would have to add.
Yes, and I see there's some support in the chat And I love that we already have someone who wants to join the Creative Writing Club. And so here's an opportunity for students to meet, and they're taking the opportunity to connect in the chat. So this is community, and this is how we bring people together, and it's happening organically.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Are there any other questions? All right, while you're thinking, Dr. Williams, are there any other comments that you would like to make?
I know it's repetitive, but thank you. This is, I mean, truly, Montgomery College, we're here, for students, right? This is the dedicated faculty and staff. Again, if you weren't here at the very beginning, I say this because it's true, because I mean it, because there's so many people here who want to see our students succeed, and help you identify your goals, help you reach your goals. And you're the reason why we do what we do, the reason why we embrace each other and uplift each other as we try and figure out, how to support you best. And so I'm just thankful that you were all able to take some time out to spend, with a few of us. You have definitely a caring, a large group of caring individuals I've learned very quickly in my 3+ weeks, who want nothing more but to see you succeed. And I mean, out of so many things, that's just one of many things that has just given me wings the past 3+ weeks, is how much everyone is so dedicated to students. So I'm overjoyed. As I said, I'm extremely humbled, and thank you so much.
Just
Thank you,
one
Dr.
more
Williams.
question. And guess who is it from?
Rebecca. Rebecca.
I'm gonna
Is it
call
Rebecca?
Rebecca our new report. Yes. Rebecca is, listen, I can only imagine like a podcast with you and Rebecca just asking you a whole bunch of questions. Listen, Rebecca, we're here for it. Thank you. So Dr. Williams, do you have an office hours policy where students can come and talk to you about their experience at MC? Because Rebecca would love to follow up with you and discuss ways that we can improve MC for the better as new members of the MC community.
I do not have, and you'll find I'm very transparent when I don't have the answer, or when the answer is no. I'll share that with you. I do not have an office hours policy. I appreciate the question. What I am hearing, and though maybe we can work towards something, and I'm looking at Dr. Brown, looking at Chair Jones, and that we have something that is scheduled as far as student opportunity, engagement, right? Student engagement opportunities, or student opportunities for engagement, however we want to put those words, or different words, where we're coordinating with everything else that's going on. And I know I'll never stop learning. I will at one point in time stop saying that I'm new, but I will never stop saying that I'm learning. What I would want is for us to think about how that elevates and supports the structures that we currently have. So the structures we have with governance, the structures we have with student senate. And I think if there is a desire, you can count me in. At the same time, I want to be mindful of what we have that's working and how we're currently promoting, amplifying our student voice. But definitely we can have that conversation. And if there's a need, if there's space and opportunity, and then I say, let's figure out how we do it.
Absolutely, Dr. Williams, and we will work with you and then share the information with students. We have others who are co-signing and saying it's a great idea. So we will work with you, Dr. Williams, to see what opportunities are available where you can meet with students. Again, I know those sorts of things have happened in the past, so we can certainly work with you to make it happen.
Great.
Andre is weighing in and saying, from hearing you, he believes you lead through a model of service. He wants to know, how do you envision your team moving forward?
So I thank you, Andre, and I appreciate that you posed several questions and thoughts. And I want to say before we end, because we have a few minutes left. So believe it or not, I'm an introvert, and I want to thank. Well, I'm thanking everyone who has actively contributed, verbally through the chats. I may have been an individual in college who absorbed all of this and did not actively engage, because that is kind of my home base. And so I know those individuals. I know you're out there. I know you've been engaging in the way that you engage, in a way that is fulfilling for you. And from one introvert to the others, I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for engaging. Thankful for all the thoughts that you've had, the deep thoughts that you've had after, during this and after. And if you want to contact me, it's President's Office at Montgomery College, right? I have that email correct? Or is it? No.
Unmute
President,
Dr. Kane.
Dr. Kane, help me out.
You must be the new guy.
I am the new guy. How'd you know?
But you're very close. It is president at Montgomery College.
Thank you very
There
much.
you go.
President at Montgomery College for my introverted kin who are thinking about things and are not actively engaging. And Andre, to quickly sum up, I think the leadership team is great. Everyone who I've met is great, and leading, kind of through service, this kind of servant leader mode, and really trying to bring out the best in people. And I think that's something else that I've seen at Montgomery College. And I'll end with that, is so many people who are contributing to this idea of not only leading by example, but also trying to uplift and bring out, people's best, right? Your individual best, trying to find out what those characteristics are, highlight them, and help people grow. So it's not only individual, but it's also a group dynamic, as I see people and I see us trying to help each other. And that's one of the forms of leadership that I subscribe to, and I've seen it, as I said, throughout the college, is, how can we help each other be our best selves? And it's a beautiful, it's just a beautiful culture to be immersed in. And with that, I have spoken at least 60 seconds longer than we've identified for this engagement tonight. So I'm going to share again my extreme gratitude for everyone who is here. Dr. Brown, Chair Jones, thank you for chairing. Dr. Kane, Dr. Rai, I thank you for joining. Other members of the MC community administration, faculty, staff who are here, thank you for the coordination. So I say thank you. And I don't know closing marks from Chair Jones or Dr. Brown, but my heart goes out, and my appreciation is out there as well. So.
And thank you, Dr. Williams, and to everyone who joined. Please, tomorrow evening, we will convene again. Please invite your friends. Please ask other students. Use this as an opportunity to encourage them to meet with the new president, again, to take the opportunity that you had this evening to hear directly from Dr. Williams and to share their thoughts and ideas with him. So please join us here again tomorrow evening. Thank you all so much. Thank you to everyone who joined us. Have a good evening.